Hey guys, welcome back. Lately I've been contemplating buying a brand new bike. Now this goes against the grain. Normally I'm all about second-hand, good value bargains, right? It's pretty much what this channel is, me riding bikes that I've got at a decent price, that are really good value for money, and you can have a lot of fun on them. But I'm turning 50, and a part of me has always wanted that quintessential midlife crisis bike, a nice big fat Harley Davidson. And I thought, well, the price of the second-hand ones are ridiculous at the moment. So I thought, let's have a look at a brand new one. Let's go get a brand new bike. And I was blown away at what the new bikes are going for. I thought they were expensive, but I didn't think they were that expensive. So let's talk about why you would get a brand new bike over second-hand bikes. Like, is it justifiable? Like, have bike manufacturers, particularly Harley Davidson, price themselves out of the market for like your average Joe, your working class man, right? Who doesn't want to get into a bucket load of debt, right? I mean, there's a lot of credit available out there. I just don't want to be in debt up to my eyeballs for a bike, because I just know that you get over it. You do get over things, and I've made those mistakes in the past, and I'm not willing to do that again. So let's have a talk about it. For a bike of this age, like, this is 10 years old now, this bike, and it's starting to show it up close, but at a distance, the paint's still pretty good. The mechanics are good. It's been maintained. It's been looked after. You look after these bikes and they will last forever. And that doesn't apply to everything. People say, oh, you look after anything, it'll last forever. That's not true. Look after your iPhone, that doesn't last forever. Suzuki is one of those manufacturers that, look, it kind of, to me, in my mind, and comment if you feel that this rings true for you, Suzuki's kind of like the underdog manufacturer, if you like. It's a poor man's sort of Jap bike. The same thing goes with Ford. And so I was a Ford man for most of my life. Now I'm by default a Suzuki man, although I'm not brand loyal anymore. But Suzuki kind of seems to me like Ford. They have the flagship amazing bike, which is like the GSXR. Right? The GSXR, the Gixxer 750 was amazing in its time, then the 1000, then the Hayabusa. So they do have these high-end kind of amazing bikes, but they still manage to make them reasonably priced. When I say reasonably priced, they're still expensive, but compared to like your European counterparts, they're reasonably priced. So I kind of think of them like Ford, because Ford obviously have the Mustang, they have the GT40, they have the Ford GT, not the GT40, the Ford GT. They've had some amazing turbo cars over the years. My era was Escorts and Falcons, and in the States you got Mustangs. Let's just say I've had my fair share of Fords over the years. And in the States you got we used to have them too, the F100s, 150s, and I actually can't wait till they bring them back. I mean, they have to do something, don't they? I mean, is Ford even selling anything in Australia anymore? Who knows? I think they sell the Ford Ranger. That's what we get. But why don't they just be done with it like Dodge and sell the American stuff here? Like, if you're not manufacturing it here, why are you selling it here? But that's beside the point. Getting off topic. Why do I have so many Suzukis, right? Because they're value for money. Why did I have so many Fords? Because they're value for money. I feel like I do want a Harley. Just turned 50 and I do want a Harley. I want to say one time in my life that I owned and rode a Harley. But what's that for? It's just purely for a bucket list, purely for my ego to say, I've got the Harley badge, right? But they're ridiculously priced. They're ridiculous. The Harley that I want. Oh, I'm already here. Oh, that was quick. They're just ridiculously priced, Harley. For 50 grand for a cruiser, right? Like I want a Fatboy, 50 grand roughly on the road, with just one or two add-ons. It's not a full-featured touring bike. It's just a basic cruiser. Yeah, the motor's awesome. But imagine that, 50 grand on the road for a brand new bike. So then, what experience is it giving me? Like I could go out and buy a used M109 for 10 grand. Gives me the muscle bike experience. Then I could go out and buy a Ducati Hyper Motard if I wanted to hoon around. I could go out and buy and a used Hyper Motard in good conditions, about 10 or 11 grand. So I'm at 20 grand for two bikes. What is this thing? Is that McLaren? We shall soon see. That is confusing. It needs more signs up or something. For example, this McLaren, it's $500,000, right? Roughly. How many cars could you buy for that and still have amazing different experiences? That's like you could buy a Mustang, 70 grand, 80 grand, whatever, or even 100 grand. You could buy and that's brand new. You could buy some ridiculous second-hand turbo cars. You could buy some of those C63 Mercedes, those bi-turbo things. So tell me you're not paying for the status, or tell me you're not paying for that, because unless you take that McLaren to the track, you're never getting its potential. And you could have a lot more fun in some other vehicles. And that's my point with buying a brand new expensive bike versus, say, a handful of second-hand bikes. Now, long term, I get it. If you're going to keep one bike, there's one lot of servicing fees, there's one lot of registrations. So long term, yes, it makes sense. If you're going to keep the bike for life, and you buy the bike and you're going to retire, and they're going to bury it with they're going to have it on your grave, go for it. Spend whatever you want. But I find it very hard to justify dropping 50 grand on a bike that you kind of haven't. Like, I'll definitely test ride it, but is a test drive going to give you a true indication of what the bike's like, or how reliable it is? So then you kind of say, well, I'll get a second-hand one and I'll figure it out. But Harley completely changed the motor, so it's almost like a different bike. So personally, I feel that if 50 grand you're going to write it off for tax or whatever it is, go do it. But I mean, I'm part Indian and Scottish, and both those ethnicities are known for being frugal. That's the polite word for it. So those parts of me would be screaming and going, what are you doing? I mean, even buying a new vehicle these days, I feel like it's absolutely ridiculous how much they fleece you on a new vehicle. With all the like charges and fees and whatnot. But I mean, I understand. I also understand the appeal of having something that nobody else has rid on, no one's dropped, no one's thrashed, no one's played with. You know the history of it. But I tell you what, the last brand new vehicle I bought was Nissan Patrol. I mean, that was, by the time I got that on the road with all the gear and everything else, I mean, this was years ago. That was like 70k on the road. And you expect for 70k, you expect to have a wet dream, right? You expect no issues. Really missed that gear there. Could have ended badly. You expect to have no issues, nothing wrong with a brand new car, and if there is anything wrong, you go, well, in my mind it was like, oh, they'll give you a brand new one, they'll swap it because it's such an expensive vehicle. It's not really an expensive vehicle, it's just expensive in my mind. But no, I had issues from that with that after 2 weeks because had some issue with oil pickups, and basically the car couldn't be driven after 2 weeks. And so you've spent 70 grand, and they said might have to replace the motor, we might have to do this. And that's actually happened to a friend of mine with Jeep, so it's not just Nissan. A friend of mine bought a brand new Jeep, like amazing machine, and that thing, he took it back and they just kept playing him along because they know the rules. If it's going to take so much time to fix, they'll give you a new vehicle, but they just kept playing him and saying, oh, we'll fix it here, take it back. And so instead of, in the end he learnt the law and he said, no, you give me the vehicle when it's fixed. And in the end, after a lot of trouble, 6 months of trouble, he ended up getting this car sorted out. But you know, that leaves a really bad taste in your mouth to buying a new vehicle. Like, at least when you buy a second-hand vehicle, it doesn't have to be old. Like, most of the bikes I buy are about 10 years old, but it doesn't have to be that old. You can just buy it. People like churn through things after 2 or 3 years. At least you know it's done all its running, it's done all its servicing. It's any glitches, problems, issues, they've been done for you. So if you think of it like that, a vehicle that's a couple of years old is far better than a brand new vehicle because it's been sorted out. It just depends who's rode it. And most people that are tuning through the types of vehicles that I want, would look after it, and especially with decent price tags. Now, in saying that, for full sports bikes or hoon bikes like Ducatis or like your GSXRs and the like, I wouldn't do that. With sports touring bikes, I would definitely, I would. Cruisers, I don't think someone that drops that amount of money on anything would thrash it. But like your enduro bikes, your road trails and whatnot, definitely, I definitely wouldn't buy them for top dollar second hand. That's a dangerous thing on the road, isn't it? So I told you, the other side of the tunnel, beautiful. Sydney is awesome. We have pockets of weather. If you don't like the weather in one area, just drive for 20 minutes. But I get the sense of achievement too. I mean, it's an ego thing. Where all bike riders, I don't know any bike rider that doesn't have some kind of little bit of an inflated ego. And when we're doing something that not everyone can do, if we're honest with ourselves, I mean, everyone could eventually, if you really forced everyone to. You've got places like Asian countries that everyone rides a bike, and India and whatnot. But my point, I guess, is that we all want to show off, or even buying the bigger engine or the bike with the more features. I'm guilty of it. I'm guilty of looking at the top of the range of something, because like the super sports version or the extreme version or the whatever version it is, I don't use those features. So why am I doing it? It doesn't make sense. It's like, why do I want the bigger horsepower motor when I'm quite happy with the horsepower of most bikes that I ride? Am I going to go drag racing? Oh, we'll put the stage 4, the stage 3 and blah blah blah. I've been there, done that. I had a twin turbo car that was wound out. Now, I mean, to be honest, the V8s I've had by today's comparisons are pretty tame. So I'm not going to claim that I've had 1,000 horsepowers, right? No, I think that the most I had in a V8 was like 400. So by today's standards, that's not much, is it? But back then, I thought I was a champion. And I had, it'd be about the same, about maybe a little bit more with the twin turbo Nissan, but the power delivery was very, very different indeed. I just realised the GPS is taking me somewhere I don't want to go. It's taking me to the other end. The other end. Down the West Road. The water looks amazing. So this is the main street of Coogee. One of them. The weather still won't make up its mind, but I've got my wets if I need to. And I even got my swimmers if I have to. So we've come into the end of our journey. I wonder if it's given you any clarity, if you would make the same decision as me. Help me out, drop a comment, tell me what you would do, what you think, if what I've said sparked any ideas with you. Do you agree with me that new vehicles are just ridiculously overpriced for what they are these days? I know with Harley you do get slightly better quality than a lot of the other manufacturers, but is it justified? Like, is the price difference justified? Like, you could literally rebuild a second-hand bike many times over before you even come close. But then again, you don't get the prestige or the whatever it is you get with buying a brand new vehicle. But I'd love to hear from your comments. What are you guys riding? What do you think? Are you all about, do you guys buy like second-hand bikes that are a couple of years old, or you just go with old bikes, fixer-uppers? What are your thoughts out there? I really appreciate all you guys. I really appreciate all the support and the comments that I've had on this channel. It really makes it worthwhile. It makes me want to continue doing it, and I get a kick out of it. I will have more content coming out every week. It's kind of my thing. So I really appreciate, like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.